Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fiery Pulse, our live webinar series focused on making print automation practical and relevant for a real production environment. I'm Joanna Portela, and I'll be your host. Whether you've been with us throughout the entire series or joining us for the first time, it's great to have you here. Because today we're moving into step 5 of the automation journey, from islands to integration, connecting your print workflow. Up to now, we focused on optimizing individual steps, from job setup to imposition, pre-press, and finishing. But here's a reality. Even well-automated processes can still create frictions if they're not connected. And that's exactly what we're tackling today. This session is all about how to bring your system together so jobs can move seamlessly from ordering to production without manual handoffs or constant intervention. And as always, we'll keep the session practical, focused, and grounded in real-world examples. But before we jump in, just a few quick housekeeping notes. Everyone is muted to keep audio clear, but feel free to say hello in the chat. We'd love to see where you're joining us from. And please use the Q&A panel for questions so we can address them live at the end. And yes, today's session is being recorded and will be shared afterwards. Now, let's meet today's speakers. We're joined by Alkan, Product Marketing Manager at Fiery, who will set the stage and explain why workflow integration is the next critical step in automation. And then Chad, Sales Development Manager, with a wealth of experience in helping businesses just like yours integrate their workflows, will walk you through a real example showing how Fiery API can be used to connect systems, submit jobs, and retrieve production data in real time. So let's get into it. Alkan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Joanna, and thank you everybody for being here today. So as Joanna mentioned, in the previous Fiery Pulse sessions, we looked at different ways to automate specific parts of print production. We started with hot folders and presets, we moved into imposition, pre-press with job flow, and finishing automation. So little by little, we've been removing manual work inside production. But there's a bigger question here. Why stop at the Fiery itself? Because a lot of the friction happens before the job gets there and also after print when that job needs to connect with other systems in the business. So far, we've been improving what happens inside production. That's great, but that's only one part of the story because jobs don't magically appear in the Fiery. They come from other systems, other people, other steps. And if those pieces are not connected, you still end up with manual work in the middle, even if production itself is well optimized. So the real opportunity is bigger than automating one task at a time. It's making the whole workflow feel like one connected process. Automation is not a nice to have anymore. Most print shops already see it as a priority. At the same time, the way job comes in has changed a lot. More orders comes through digital channels, web portals, MIS platforms, internal apps, instead of the old manual ways like emails or even USB drives. And that changes where the real opportunity is. Because if those systems are connected properly, the impact goes way beyond saving a few clicks. You can remove entire process steps. We've seen real cases where a workflow went from 10 or 11 manual steps down to one click. So the conversation is not, does integration matter? That part is already clear. The real question now is how to make that practical. So if the value is so clear, why isn't everyone already doing it? Usually it goes down to this. The systems are disconnected. You got MIS, you got web to print, ERP, the Fiery, each one doing its job, but not really sharing information with each other. And when that happens, people fill the gaps manually. Retyping job details, checking status by hand, moving files around, fixing mistakes. On top of that, traditional print integration has often been too complex. It usually meant specialized knowledge, long development cycles, and higher costs that many shops want to take on. So the need has been there for a long time. What hasn't been there is an easy way to solve it. And that is where Fiery API comes in. At a very simple level, it lets other systems talk directly to the Fiery server. So instead of relying on manual steps, jobs, data, and decision can move automatically between systems. That could be a web portal, an MIS, an ERP, or even a very simple internal app. And the key point is, it is built on standard web technologies, so it's much more accessible than traditional print integrations. And just as importantly, Fiery API is included at no additional cost with every Fiery server, whether it's Windows-based or Linux-based. So this is not an extra add-on. It's a built-in capability that it's unique to Fiery. So the question now is, what can you actually do with it? First, you can automate job submission, sending jobs from another system straight to Fiery with the right setting already applied. Second, you can control and monitor production remotely, queues, jobs, device status, all of that. And third, you can pull production data back out, job logs, media usage, accounting information, and use that in dashboards, MIS platforms, or reporting tools. So this is not only about sending jobs to print, which is great. It's about connecting print to the rest of the workflow around it. So let's see some real cases. A simple way to think about these cases is something triggers a process, something happens automatically, and then you get a business result. For example, an online order comes in, the job is submitted automatically, and nobody has to touch it manually. An MIS sends the job data, that information gets captured automatically, and now costing and billing are much more accurate. Or you can connect production data to a dashboard, and suddenly people have real-time visibility instead of guessing or walking over to the device. So the specific use may change, but the pattern is always the same. Less manual intervention, fewer delays, and better information. Okay, so now let's take this out of the abstract that I've been talking about and look at a real example. I'm going now to hand it over to Chad, who is going to walk us through a customer case that shows how Fiery API can help in a real production environment and what that can look like when it's applied to an actual workflow. So Chad, all yours.
Thank you, Auken. So this was kind of a fun opportunity that I worked on here a couple of months ago with a local web-to-print company by the name of PrintNet. The issue was not so much an issue, the opportunity. PrintNet had a customer, New Prague Schools, working with a reseller, DTS, who wanted to remove some steps from their overall workflow process. So the way that things were working, they had their web to print solution in place. It was pushing items down to the print shop for people to take over and do something with, but there was a lot of manual steps involved. So I was contacted by these gentlemen. They were looking for a way to hook into Fiery and to see what was going on, send jobs, get real-time information back. So we set them up with an API key, and they were able to pull that off in less than a week, really. If you want to go to the next slide, Auken.
Sure.
So just talking about some of the hidden costs in touches, as Auken brought up earlier in the presentation. So in this particular case, each job that came in required a number of different touches in order to make it go through the process. And the folks who ran that print center there knew what they were doing. But every time you open up a file and set job properties and send something over and choose media and do all these different things, even if you're really good at that, it still takes time. And then when you start multiplying that by a large number of jobs per day, the number of manual actions per day, and the number of annual actions per year, it really starts to add up from a time perspective. So what we were really looking to do was streamline that overall process, make it as simple and as seamless as possible so that people were able to push things through as quickly as possible without having to necessarily be experts on which button they're going to hit, when and how and where. Next slide. So basically, here's how it works. So this is really from the PrintNet side, the partner who had requested access via API. Customer submits an order to PrintNet. An AI agent in PrintNet looks at the inbound orders, and then routes them to the correct Fiery preset that we've created. From there, you go down to the print orders. They show up in the held queue on a Fiery. And at this point in the overall workflow process, there's a human in the middle. Now, one thing I want to point out, if you don't want to have a human in the middle here, you can eliminate that step. However, a lot of central reprographic departments or production print environments do want to have an operator there managing the queue. So that part, totally up to you how you want to do it. You can have jobs hit as the held queue, or you can have them go right to the print queue. So then from there, an AI agent who pulls Fiery looking for, closed print jobs will then send that information back into the host system, the PrintNet host system, letting them know that the job's complete. It'll update that in the operator view for management purposes. And then ultimately an AI agent will send a message back to the customer letting them know that the job was completed. So the connection from the cloud to the Fiery all happened really in a matter of a couple different mouse clicks in this overall process. And as I mentioned in the previous slide, this cut out about 75% of the touches that New Prague Schools, the customer in this particular case, was selecting in order to make a job go through their overall process. Next slide. So the results, like I mentioned before, PrintNet, they were able to build a fully integrated Fiery API connection in less than 2 weeks, and that enabled direct workflow automation. New Prague, the school district in question here, who's benefiting from the solution, they were able to automate their central reprographic department. Like I said before, reduced touch points by around 75%. And ultimately DTS, the partner who was sort of the centerpiece of the overall opportunity, was able to deliver a modern automated workflow, and it strengthened their relationship with the customer, strengthened their ability to maintain that customer long term. Everybody was happy. Next slide.
Mm-hmm.
Lessons learned in this overall project that we worked on. Small manual steps, man, they add up quick. In high volume environments, eliminating even just a couple of touches per job when you're talking about hundreds of jobs can have a massive impact. None of this would have been possible without API to unlock that overall workflow connection and automation. So, direct system to system integration, remove the limitations of manual routing, hot folders, disconnected workflows, and put it all under one nice, simple umbrella where everything communicates and talks to one another. As a result, operators spend less time preparing jobs, more time managing production. I should also mention that these folks, they also deal with a lot of mail, shipping. It's not just print that they're doing. So they're moving in a lot of different directions at a pretty rapid pace at times. So being able to remove some of those touch points was huge. Another advantage that I don't really have up on this slide right now, but is real. If somebody new happens to come in to, the print center there, the overall process of teaching them how to print something that comes in from a teacher, way faster than it was before. Now it's just a matter of releasing it and letting the overall system take over and route it through the system. So, if you ever have any turnover, or you're dealing with new employees, anything like that, this is going to make that training curve much less steep. So overall, it was a ton of fun to work on this project. Our partner was able to pull this off in a really kind of an incredible amount of time. And I can see here that Auken has up a couple of quotes from the customer. So I won't read those for you verbatim, but yeah, it was great. It was a lot of fun. And again, I personally, as a Fiery, sales development manager, was impressed with how quickly we were able to turn this overall project around. Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, we spoke with this customer, and we got some very interesting quotes that summarizes the the lessons that we learned. That's been something they've been trying to solve for a long time, and implemented in 2 weeks was much faster than expected. And also the interesting thing was that once the print shop was able to install Fiery API and automate the process, they were able to handle internal demand more effectively with the same staff, and then open it to local customers like the local church or the schools and private customers. And so it turned on a very complex circuit of production to a real profit center that was not only struggling to be working, but also making money for this school. So thank you very much, Chad. And hearing all this, it's easy to think, okay, this sounds great, but it's also very technical. And honestly, a few years ago, that was true. This kind of integration usually meant specialized developers, print-specific knowledge, and a lot of time involved and cost. But that's changing fast. Today, with AI, as you were able to see in the previous case, and also with standard web tools, building something useful with Fiery API can be much more accessible than people expect. So instead of only talking about it, let's show it. We put together a short video that gives a simple example of what this can look like in practice. So let's watch it together. Give me just 1 second.
And by the way, we have Kobe Seifert from PrintNet in here.
Oh,
so he's here too.
So we cannot lie if you're there.
Yes.
So let's see the video.
A few years ago, connecting systems to work together required developers, time, and technical expertise. In print, tools like Fiery API made those integrations possible, but building them was still complex. Today, AI is changing that. With plain language, it's now possible to create integrations that once required specialized skills. Let's look at a simple example. Imagine an in-plant print shop that needs an easy way for employees to submit print jobs. Until recently, even a basic solution like this would have required a custom development project. Now, using publicly available AI tools, we can build a simple internal print portal just by describing what we want. For this example, we'll use ChatGPT. We'll even add a company logo so the page matches the brand. And that's all we need. A simple prompt written in everyday language. I'll send this to ChatGPT, and in just a few seconds it creates an application. Let's take a look. We now have a working interface. Users can drag and drop a file, enter the number of copies, give the job a name, and send it to print with a single click. Now let's make this real. This is where the integration comes in. To connect this page to a Fiery server, we just need to add a couple of details. This is the only technical part, and it's just 2 values, the server address and the API key. We simply paste them here and that's it. No complex setup, no development project. Now let's try it. I'll upload a file, set 100 copies and send it. And just like that, the job arrives in the Fiery server. What once required technical expertise can now be done in minutes. That's the power of combining AI with Fiery API. And this is only the beginning. Beyond this simple example, Fiery API can enable real-time monitoring, workflow automation, integration with MIS and web-to-print systems, and centralized management across multiple devices. AI makes integration more accessible. Fiery API makes it real. To learn more, visit developer.fiery.com.
Okay, that's good. So let me come back. Okay, so here we are. I hope you can see the screen. So that's a simple example of what these can look like in practice. Nothing overly complex, just a straightforward way to connect systems and automate a step that would otherwise be manual. And that's really the point of the video. This kind of integration is much more accessible today than it used to be some years ago, or some months ago even. Okay, so the good news is that getting started is pretty simple. Access to Fiery API is managed through API keys, and Fiery provide those at no cost depending on what you want to do. So if someone just wants to test and develop, there's an evaluation key. If they are ready for production with core workflow integration, there's an automation key. And for more advanced full access production environments, there's a production key. So there's a very practical way to start small, building something useful, and then scale from there. And it all starts at fiery.com/FieryAPI, where you can get more information and request your API keys to start integrating to your systems. And apart from these, if you go to our learning platform, you have several courses that you can take to understand what's behind Fiery API and how to use it. And now, Joanna, I think it's your turn.
Yes. Well, thank you guys. And as you know, this was step 5 of the automation journey, and we have our last and 6th step coming up on May 13th, and that will be AI-powered print automation with Fiery JobFlow Pro. So here we're going to show you how we can get automation with AI's help. So do register for next session. We'll promote here our registration link right now. So you can register, and I hope to see you there. And before we get into the questions, I also have just another thing I would like to ask you, which is I would love you guys to let us know how we did. We have a little survey that you can answer later and tell us how we did. You can also request future topics for our webinars. We'd love to hear what you'd like to see. So do help us and answer that survey. It takes just a few minutes. Now, it's time for our questions. We have quite a few here, so let me get started right away. So I have a question here. Our company produces custom prints. How can this work with this kind of workflow? We also need to manipulate much of the artwork.
Yeah, so when it comes to manipulating the artwork, my answer to that is tune in for episode 6 of JobFlow Pro, automating prepress and some of those types of things.
Great. And I have another question here. Let me just promote it up on the. Can the AI agent send the job to the printer that is available if there are more than one printer?
That would be a question for our partners at PrintNet. As far
yeah, and it looks like our colleague from PrintNet here answered that yes, it can do that. So okay. I'm just letting you know. Yeah. So
thank you.
Now, next question will be, who is in charge of the pre-flighting?
So pre-flighting can be handled a number of different ways. One of the nice things about going through a web-to-print solution, typically when they're creating their PDFs, they create them all the same way. Now, that doesn't necessarily take away the risk of low-res images and some of the other things that you can run into. However, from a Fiery perspective, if you really want to get into pre-flighting, making changes, fixes, things like that, again, episode 6 with JobFlow Pro, we're going to go into a lot more detail on that.
Perfect. And another question, is the API specification published? How can my developer access the documentation so that we can take advantage of this?
Yes, this is, sorry, Chad, but yeah, you can access developer.fiery.com. There's in the chat, in fact, Mike just answered the question. So you have the link there so you can get to all the documentation that you need.
Yes, and I also would like to let you all know, if you feel like you need a little bit more advice on this specific to your business, you can contact Chad and he can help you out. Let me promote here the link that you can contact him, and then you will get direct contact to him. All right, so now let me go back to the questions. So actually, this is not really a question, it's more of a request. So this video is good, but do you have step-by-step screenshot to have them execute?
Well, yes, we could share, but as we mentioned before, this is just an example of what you can do with an artificial intelligence, in this case, ChatGPT and Fiery API. Of course, if you want our help on building exactly what we did today, we can share these, but it's just an example, and the opportunity is much bigger than we are showing today. But yeah, feel free to ask us, chat, or me, and we can help you.
Perfect. And another question here is, if we don't have the same jobs repetitively and they are consistently different, is there a way to make API work?
Yeah, you can certainly make API work if you don't have the same type of repetitive jobs. The process of moving a file from point A to point B would still be the same. The question in regard to that, especially as it relates to this particular case study that I talked about, most of the mouse click steps that were removed as a result of sending directly to a Fiery preset. So yes, to answer your question, yes, the connection, how you're getting there, what you're able to do, that happens no problem. The number of steps that you're able to remove in the overall process sort of depends on, how different all the different types of jobs are that you're consuming on a daily basis.
Okay. And I have another question here in the chat. To set expectations, how long does it take to process and get a production API key?
I believe that's 7 to 8 days.
Okay. And does API work for every Fiery server?
Well, almost for every Fiery server. All servers with the Fiery system, FS200 and later versions will work. So mostly all Fieries that are out there are supported natively for Fiery API. Yeah.
This is Mike. Just one clarification. That's for Fiery cut sheet servers. This is not supported for Fiery XF servers driving wide format devices.
Good point. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Mike. So this was Mike. Let me see. So I have a question here about support. We do have support through our communities, and usually support is provided by the OEM or the reseller. And yes, so I think that's it. Any further updates coming up for XMPy and job flow integration? I believe this question, Mike, can you say anything on that area?
No, I don't have an update on that.
No. Okay, I think I got all of the questions. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. I hope to see you in our next session in May. Thank you, Chad and Alkan, for the great presentation. And watch out for an email that we will share the recording and all the resources that we mentioned here today. Thank you, everyone, and I see you next time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.